What is your preferred order of tacos?
Shrimp and chicken, to be honest with you, like that's usually where I balance it.
First of all, get that white people shit out of here.
If I don't know the place is good, pastor. If the pastor is good, I get the cabeza.
I always get 3 tacos, and each of them are 3 different. They're 3 different meats.
That's the move.
Yeah,
That's the move, Izzy. Yes. Honestly, I think mine would be a gordita crunch wrap. And speaking of whitewashed, welcome to the Real Stupid Review Show. I'm here with my carnales, Cody, Eddie, Izzy, and Nick. We're here for my mandates of Blood In, Blood Out, not any other title proposed by people who lie and mislead you. Prison, drugs, and gang war touched 3 young men in East Los Angeles. That's all it's on there. Pretty accurate, but at the same time doesn't really encompass the 3-hour epic that is Blood In, Blood Out.
You used me. What about all the times you used me?
From the director of An Officer and a Gentleman and the producer of La Bamba. Blood In, Blood Out.
That's a bond you can never break.
I believe I said this with Friday. A lot of the elements of family or familia are very close to home as far as like, you know, with cousins, interactions, not so much the cocaine and prison. It's like Italians who are attached to Goodfellas who are not at all connected to the mob, where it's just like, yeah, that's my people. That's I identify with this kind of thing where, damn, after watching the movie, you just want to like, what are my local gang chapters in the Bay Area? You're just kind of looking up. It's like, oh,
No, it's not. No.
no, am I alone on this?
It's not what I took away.
This is a pretty ridiculous movie. It's very pulpy, very exploitation. There are shots where you can see like boom microphones, and again, some of the dialogues and performances, I was like, yikes. I wasn't really analyzing this to really be critical on it, but I think for how little of these types of stories there are, I still very much appreciate it for just putting either Chicanos, Hispanics, Latinx. I was talking with Eddie. I don't know what the right terminology is, but do yourself the honor. Please watch this and become part of the crew that is La Onda.
I did enjoy the movie. I did like seeing all the familiar actors. It was really cool seeing just some of the talent going across the board. But that being said, it kind of felt really meshed. Actors that don't really top bill very often, kind of being thrown into a lot of really like title characters and title roles. The whole movie was very B movie feel. It almost felt like it should have been a 3-part TV marathon. Like I was supposed to watch this Stephen King special on CBS and finish it like over the course of 2 weeks. I mean, the movie, it's kind of easy to poke fun, but it's like if you saw any of this stuff happening in real life, it would be very horrifying. And the stuff that's going on is very real. Maybe not to the B movie capacity of the way that it's built up, like almost like a Game of Thrones layout of story where it's like just backstabbing and, you know, a dragon coming out of the toilet and stuff like that. That doesn't normally happen in these kind of movies, but definitely would recommend it. I don't know if I would say that it's top tier prison movie though.
I want to say if you're not at least somewhat fluent in Spanish, you probably missed out on like more than half of the movie. I think you called it the Mexican Godfather, and yeah, absolutely. Every single beat in this movie, I advocate for personally. Like if you check out my social media, I'm always talking about like all this shit that is being talked about in the movie. You only ever go into gang violence, or you ever only go into the gang lifestyle when you feel a personal persecution, a personal wronging from society that just can't be satiated with anything normal. A gangbanger story for you and for me, because we're Latino, is completely different. In the art, in the way that it was depicted, it's very noble. They're in it for some type of unity that they don't have immediately for them.
There's just a lot of things that like really held it back to me. I don't think it's well made, but I also don't think it's bad. My biggest issue is that Damian Chapa absolutely could not carry this movie, surrounded by very talented actors, many of which probably would have been a better choice for Miklo. So I felt a lot of imbalance in the acting, in the writing. It is pretty long. I don't feel like the runtime is a problem because this type of story is something that probably could have done with more time. But I did find myself a little bit bored at some points. The various characters inside the prison playing the more side characters were definitely the best actors in the movie and the most sort of realistic characters. I don't know what I was supposed to get out of this movie other than quotable phrases. This feels like a movie that was far too big for the people who made it.
I've realized I've heard a lot about this movie over the years, and I realized that I actually watched this movie a lot when I was a kid. After how much I've been talking to other Mexicans about it, that it's incredibly fucking beloved. I loved it. It was insane to me how realistic all the people on screen were to me. I have cousins that talk like that. I've had family that's been in situations like that. And at first I was gonna be like, I was gonna be sad. I was like, God, we're gonna get shined in some kind of weird gangster druggy light. Mexicans don't get to be in like movies. They don't get to be lead actors. I mean, even the main character, like he is part Mexican too. I was like this kind of like familiar discourse that like we speak. It came back to the idea of like brotherhood and La Raza, you know, the whole art movement that was happening in Mexico. Fuck, my mom knows about that too. We were talking about La Raza, the actual movement, and now it ends up going into this idea of brotherhood. And of course, you got all that stuff that's like that goes down to the skin, like deep level, which is why I actually enjoyed Miklo's character a lot, because as someone who has a wider like look to him, we kind of feel completely left out sometimes. We're like, fuck, we're Mexican, but Mexicans aren't going to treat us the same way. And we're American, but we're still Mexican. So like white America isn't going to treat me the same way. It's a very Mexican experience, you know, it's weird. That's why it's so weird to talk about. I personally loved it. I felt a lot watching it, and I realized it felt even more special to me afterwards, realizing how many people in my life actually have a connection to this movie.
So I don't know why, but movies in Spanish have been harder for me to get into than other foreign language films. I didn't have version subtitles, so I didn't get English subtitles for any of the Spanish they were speaking. So I missed like probably probably a fifth of all of the dialogue, I would say, maybe a little less than that.
It was in Spanglish because that's how we talk. Like we talk Spanglish.
Yeah.
You don't think it was a little of all the yelling scenes out of nowhere? You think it's like full on documentary level real?
I wouldn't base my idea of Mexicans off of this
brand of family.
Yes,
like,
certain.
Yes. Like obviously not every Mexican, like my family still like, yeah, we fucking yelling at each other is how we like say hello, good morning, ask someone to take out the trash, ask how your day was. Like it's loud.
Izzy and I have talked about this, like how Spanish is sort of like a romantic language.
Depends who's speaking. If I speak Spanish, it sounds like a fucking jam printer. It's just atrocious. It's not sexy at all. Yeah.
The actual Spanish speaking parts of the film are actually really well done. I think like the soap operas and stuff like that, you don't have to really know the language to really understand the dialogue because their body language is so strong and it's so fluent. Like I feel like if the movie was completely in Spanish, I think it would have been a little bit more powerful.
I don't mean most of what I'm saying is like a criticism of the movie. And I think like the talk about like brotherhood or like just love in general, and not just in what the characters are doing and saying, but in the clear like love of La Raza that the people who made this movie have. I think that was something that connected to me, and that was something that I got.
Like a lot of the brotherhood parts of it, like I did feel that no matter what, it's like your brother is your brother and your family is your family. I did like those parts, and I did actually relate pretty well to the beginning of it. Not necessarily the gangs and the shootings and stuff like that, but as far as just going out and doing dumb shit, like that really resonated.
Well, part of me was like kind of like sad at first, going like, maybe it's movies like these that like whenever we're put in anything else, people always want to make us this funny like Mexican that has like, you know, some weird gun addiction, some drug addiction and shit. Yeah, they always make us like.
I was about to say Michael Pena.
You know, like it made me sad. Like it made me happy that so many people like love this and that it meant something to them. But it made me sad because that means we don't have enough movies like Inarritu, Guillermo del Toro, and like all these Alfonso Cuarón. And I was like, but those aren't like, maybe Babel has a Mexican scene, but those are Mexican directors, and I was always proud of having these like three like fucking top tier dudes like being Mexican, but none of their movies besides like Roma was like Mexican, and even Roma was still like Mexican, and it was high society Mexico. Yeah, I don't know if we have any like super legit movies that do that. I think that's why I had such an affinity like for this, and that's why I was like able to say, I was like, there's two parts of me. There's a part of me that knows what this is on like that technical aspect, but there's a part of me that cannot resist this.
One thing that isn't lost to time is
Chicano movies.
reeling it
El
in.
Norte.
Oh wait, let me get my head.
Really?
I gotta get my head. I gotta get my
The
head. Oh my
segment of
god.
the show, we give final consensus on the movie named by Izzy. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm a little disappointed in myself because I don't know if I was very clearly able to speak on it as like a critical eye, and that might be because again I'm very biased in the way of my own personal attachment to the movie. I did appreciate a lot of the music, the way it felt very traditional in some parts, but during more of the action, like you would hear like this cool guitar riff. The acting for the three main leads, even though Miklo was our main protagonist, I wish it could have evened out a little bit more with Paco and Cruz, but the bits we had with them I thought were brilliant. Miklo on its own was still a very interesting story, but overall it's still a great experience. The Mexican or La Raza aesthetic they have over here, it's very, for someone who doesn't have a whole lot out of that in media, this is a nice little safety blanket where it's just like, man, I feel like I want to watch something where I can see brown people or people who sound or look similar to me. I can always throw this on. So this is like my old reliable. I love this movie. It's a classic. It's a 5 out of 5 out of 5. And, you know, it always will be till the end of time.
Shawshank Redemption, Midnight Express, Escape from Alcatraz, Bad Boys with Sean Penn, not Will Smith. These are examples of amazing and creepy prison movies. I enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. Expect B movie. Don't expect the top list. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. 3.5 stars.
I loved it a lot. I love the representation. It felt really good to get a movie that is of that degree. It wasn't one of the best movies that I've ever watched, but it was very well structured. It had a lot of representation. You talked about it earlier, the storyline between Paco and Miklo, and how one of them becomes a detective and the other one becomes this prison crime lord. I loved it. It was a really cheesy classic foil. I've actually been thinking about what rating I wanted to give it for a pretty long time, especially just right now in recording this. But I'm gonna have to stick with the 4.5.
Yeah, this is a tough one to rate because of like so much floating around. So ultimately, I guess I'm gonna give it sort of a middling review. But I think it's something that is very much worth watching, and I'm glad that I saw it. There's a lot of like culture and a lot of passion and love put into it. My film buff brain gets caught up on a lot of things in the movie, and they were so constant that I do consider that to be a negative point against it. I still don't particularly enjoy the acting of the lead, but for the most part, the rest of the cast is pretty good to great. Oddly enough, for as long as this is, I think it should have been longer. Had more time to sort of stew on these things. There's a lot to really like. There's a lot of the specifically the dialogue between Cruz and Paco that I really liked. I liked it, and I kind of disliked it. I think I liked it more than I disliked it, just because of how like fun so much of it was. I'm talking in circles. 3.5 out of 5.
For me, it was already a difficult one to rate or even think about after a while, because it made me think about a lot of things. I do agree with a lot of the B movie qualities, but I also agree with Gerardo's, like, it's a blanket for me and for a lot of other people too. And in the end, I think that kind of means something. It kind of really shows something in what we're lacking. As like we mentioned, it's a cult classic, like in California and among like the Latinx community for a reason. And it really made me think about my role as a Mexican in California, like a lot. Overall, again, I had a blast watching it. But I had like two separate brains watching it. In the end, I'm going to put both of those scores together and give it a 4 out of 5. for the amount of thinking that it prodded inside of me.
Well, that's going to be into the review section of the show, but we always like to let you guys know what we've been up to before we close it out. So, Nick, what do you got for the lovely viewers? Izzy, what do you have to recommend to the viewers?
He was like really attentive. I was like, oh my God.
Holy shit.
He's so engrossed in Izzy's review.
All right, so today I watched Honeyland, which is technically a documentary, but it almost feels like a drama. It's about a nomadic beekeeper, I think it's not Turkey. Where are they, Cody? You've seen it.
Estonia, using thousands of year-old techniques for beekeeping.
A lot of like environmental messages, a lot of stuff about like respecting like the land. Last night I watched Black Klansman by Spike Lee. I realized I watched 2 Spike Lee movies this year, so that was a fun ride, and I think the payoff was incredibly satisfying. I think if you guys watch a Spike Lee movie, you guys know what kind of vibe you're gonna get. I watched what was considered one of the original documentaries ever made. I think it was like a 20s documentary called Nanook of the North. It's kind of controversial now. It's following like an Eskimo hunter named Nanook. The family on screen are not actually, it's not his wife, you know, but there are still a lot of Eskimo things that are happening, like the hunting of a walrus. So if you can't handle animals getting hurt, it's an old movie and it shows a real walrus hunt. So maybe not for you.
All right, very good recommendations. Nick, what do you have for us?
So if you're a fan of Creepshow from 1982, they actually reintroduced an awesome TV show for Creepshow, and it started in 2019, and they just brought out new episodes this year. The first episode dropped. It's very, very cool. If you're a fan of Bob Ross and Groovy, you will enjoy it very, very much. If you haven't already gone out and seen it, go check out Godzilla vs. Kong and check out our last Real Stupid Godzilla vs. Kong review.
So I've been watching Megalobox. It's an anime series about like gearboxing, where they wear these like hydraulic rigs on their shoulders, and it's this dude who's like he's like an illegal immigrant to the land, and is like fixing matches, and decides he wants to win for once and to enter this giant tournament. The animation is fantastic. It's only 15 episodes long, so it's extremely well paced. Play games with your friends, man. Video games, multiplayer games are fucking fun. Me and my friends, we do all kinds of different games. I've been on Monster Hunter Rise. That's been a lot of fun. It's total blast. They're just killing giant dinosaurs with wings that breathe fire. It's great. It's a good way to bond. You're not supposed to really leave your house anyway, so what else are you gonna fucking do, man?
The documentary on White Boy Rick, the amount of corruption that went into the White Boy Rick title, crazy and eye-opening, and I was not expecting that at all. And the second one, also a documentary, is gonna be the Orange Years, the Nickelodeon story. It was a real feels-good movie. I teared up watching it.
Do you want to plug the dog toy your dog's chewing on? Just it seems like a very good dog toy for anyone that's watching out there.
If you want the same dog toy that my dog is playing with, it is the Kong soft chicken. The back opens up, and you can actually replace the squeaker. So if your dog goes through a lot of squeakers, you could just buy a multi-pack on Amazon. Oh, god damn it! And get your dog unlimited joy.
Speaking of things that are hard to find, apparently food in the movie The Platform. So it is a Netflix original film, I believe, in Spanish. I don't know exactly what Spanish country it's from. It's a Spanish movie. It's a genre bottle film. It's a very simple concept. The message is not super subtle, kind of like a Snowpiercer. It gets very extreme, very hardcore. Some of the things happen in the movie are some big what the fuck moments, and honestly, up until the ending where it got a little like, I was really in love with the movie. So if you're on Netflix, if you have Netflix, who doesn't, I highly recommend it. Platform, turn the subtitles on, or learn Spanish. Buy some Rosetta Stone, just learn the language. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mike Carnales. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Eddie, who didn't watch the movie, but he was here earlier. And we'll see you guys real soon.
Bye-bye.
I watch watch a lot of anime, so I can't really make that comparison where it's like, oh, it's like anime.
It's literally, he's just saying it's like anime because they're Asian people, right? And he's a fucking racist.
They're not even Japanese. But the way they were able to just add in these kind of very strange anime